Okay, so it's currently 31 minutes till showtime for Spider-Man No Way Home. I saw it I'm going to see it a day after everyone else. I really have heard good things about this film. I've heard that it's perhaps one of the best Spider-Man films out there, just regardless of the universe that it's in, or whether it's animated or live action. I've heard this is one of the best from a lot of people, and I'm excited. I'm not even nervous about this one. I'm just excited to see it. I'm really excited, and I want to see what they do in this film. I've been spoiled with a little bit, but it's basically stuff that we've been guessing for months now, and yeah, I'm really excited. So yeah, I'll see y'all back in 3 hours. 3, because math. Okay, so it's been a little more than 3 hours, so I kind of lied to y'all. I tried to film this last night, but I was way too tired after outlining the entire review, but I'm here now, so yeah. I also forgot that I have the Eye of Agamotto from Doctor Strange. I get it at a Comic-Con in my local town, so I'm wearing this now. I should have worn it earlier, but I didn't. Whatever, let's just start. The beginning of this film just really goes all out with the ramifications of Peter being revealed as Spider-Man. I could really feel Peter's anxiety throughout the start of the film. Jon Favreau was great in this film, like he is in all films that he's in. He's one of my favorite directors, and he's a really good actor, and I'm glad they put him in this. Jon Favreau is always a win, so Matt Murdock is in this. I was really excited for that. It was spoiled for me by a YouTube thumbnail, which I thought was just clickbait and fake, until I realized that it was pretty real, and then I got really sad that I was spoiled by it, so, you know. Doctor Strange didn't entirely feel like Doctor Strange for some reason. It was... I don't know, I can't put my finger on it, but he didn't feel like Doctor Strange. He felt like this cartoonish version of the character. I'm not saying that he's Mephisto or anything, I'm just saying that it felt a little off for some reason. I even saw that in some of the trailers. He just felt not like Doctor Strange, the character that we've known since 2016's Doctor Strange. It's kind of weird. I've got 5 points here about the Sinister 5, I guess? The Finister 5? Ferocious 5. I don't know. But I do have some notes down here that I want to share about all of the villains in this film. Willem Dafoe is still great as Green Goblin. He felt deceptive and very terrifying, like he was in the original film. And the fact that he's a great goblin for Toby and Tom is just... it's amazing. It all comes full circle with this character, and I really enjoyed that. Dr. Octopus was my favorite villain from the Raimi trilogy, and it's awesome to see him return. I was really glad that he wasn't muddled by being a villain in this film and turned into a good guy like he did in the end of the Raimi film. I am still a little confused by that, though, because when he returns to the Raimi films, he's still gonna die. So Tom didn't exactly save him. He saved him from evil, but not from death like he wanted to. So that kind of confuses me. Jamie Foxx's Electro was really fun for kind of an odd reason. He wasn't exactly humorous in the TASM films, so I don't know why he was funny in this film, but he was just a really great comedic relief for the villains. Sandman has a really special place in my heart for being one of the first movie villains to make me feel something, feel sympathy towards the character. I liked the small amount of moments that he had in this film, but he didn't do a lot, so... And I think the Lizard was just... Lizard. He's not that special. He didn't do anything in this film, really, besides being a big dinosaur. So I guess there's that. I think the fight scene on the bridge was very fun. I think it was really interesting to see MCU's Peter Parker fighting Dr. Otto Octavius with the 4 arms. I thought the Iron Spider versus Dr. Octopus arm fight was also pretty cool in there. I think it's super fun to see these 4 disorienting, distracting arms all fighting at once. I think that was one of the things that made Spider-Man 2 so great, and what makes this fight scene also great. I also think the mirror dimension fight between Doctor Strange and Spider-Man is also really fun. I think that whole thing was just an entire trip, but it still felt really good as an action scene. It did what action is supposed to do. Something happens, so then a character has to block that and then just do another thing. Something happens and then something else happens, which I know sounds very plain and basic, but that's really how action works. Overall, it was just really well choreographed and showed Peter's ability of math. Aunt May's death scene really made me tear up and reminded me of the PS4 cutscene where Aunt May dies. I know a lot of people have criticized this version of Peter Parker for facing no consequences of being Spider-Man, but I feel like that criticism kind of ended with this moment. He has to face consequences, people have to suffer because he's Spider-Man, and that's what makes him Spider-Man. I'm gonna go more into that point later towards the end of the review, but that really changed how I feel about this version of Peter. I think all three Peters meeting each other were just like really fun. I know a lot of people have talked about these scenes in particular, but the laboratory scene and the scene right before the big battle on the Statue of Liberty were just very fun. They weren't any action, and they didn't exactly drive the story along, but they were character moments. Character moments are really important in a film like this, which is just a bunch of crossover and a bunch of big plot points one after another. It was great to just relax with all three Peters and have to see them know each other. I'm gonna cry. Anyways, those two scenes really pulled the Peter variants from previous films from just cameo roles to full-on supporting characters for this film. Speaking of the two Peters, I want to talk about good versus bad fan service. I know this film has been really criticized for being a very fan servicey movie, and I kind of agree with that. It is, but not all fan service is bad. Bad fan service hinders a story's plot and puts you into a mindset of nostalgia without pushing the progress of the story along. And I think that some previous parts of this film with the villains did do that to an extent, but as this film progressed, the fan service progressed with it. Good fan service uses previous story elements to push a story forward, and I feel like these two Peters just really did that. Without Toby and Andrew, you wouldn't have had a good film with this. Captain Midnight has a really good video essay on this, link in the description. It is very good, and it uses the Season 2 Episode 1 episode of The Mandalorian as a good example, and it truly is a good example. I also just want to point out that I saw two villains, like their silhouettes in the sky as reality was beginning to crumble. I noticed that there was Rhino and that there was Kraven the Hunter. I've heard there were like a few others, but I didn't catch them, so I need to research that. Nearing the end of the film, I noticed that this version of Peter Parker has become a lot more comic accurate. After Peter Parker was forgotten by everybody, he's kind of a nobody to everybody. You notice that in the graveyard scene with Aunt May's grave and Happy Hogan. Happy Hogan doesn't remember who Peter is, and neither does Ned, or neither does MJ, neither does Flash. So I think by this point in Peter Parker's character arc, he's a nobody to everybody, just like he is in the comic books. He also gets this really small apartment, which I thought was the same apartment that Raimiverse Peter has. I think I'm wrong, but it did also remind me of the PS4 Spider-Man. And finally, the new costume. It's the best part of every Spider-Man costume, really, and I didn't get a really good look at it because it was a nighttime scene and it was a lot darker, but I did notice that the suit is just really bright, and I think that's what Spider-Man should be. On to the end credit scenes. The Venom mid-credit scene was fun, I guess. I don't know why it was there. I understand that we needed that for Venom to come to the MCU, but I don't know how I feel about that one. I don't understand why that piece of Venom didn't just go back to its original universe. But I am glad that we're gonna get the black symbiote suit in the MCU. I'm just really excited for that. We also got a trailer at the end of this, which hasn't happened since, like, Captain America the First Avenger? There was like a trailer for the Avengers at the end, I think. I'm really excited for this film. It's being directed by Sam Raimi, it has music composed by Danny Elfman, they're going to introduce America Chavez, and I'm just really excited for that film. Now, my course of events after watching a movie is to immediately go to Letterboxd and write some silly, one-sentence, funny review. I don't think I could have done that with this film. I really couldn't. Originally I was gonna write something like, oh, they they really turned Willem Dafoe into Willem Friend. Bazinga? But I was on the car ride home thinking about that review that I was gonna write, and I realized that that wasn't the full review that I should have wrote, especially for this superhero that I've loved since I was a little kid, that I loved since before I even loved superheroes. When I got home, I realized that that one sentence joke that I was gonna write wasn't a joke exactly. It was more so an analysis on the Spider-Man character and who he is. Now for y'all, I'm gonna read the second half of the review that I wrote on Letterboxd. Please follow me at nonbuffilmbuff if you're not already. Please, I need followers. But yeah, here's the final part of the review. It's the optimism. The optimism that if he uses great power responsibly, that the world will be a better place. When the going gets tough for Peter, and believe me, it does, a lot. He can complain and cry and bargain however much he pleases, but he always manages to find a way to come back. MCU Peter Parker has always been flawed in a way, and many people have pointed this out. But the moment he listened to May, the moment he helped others with his optimism, he really did turn Willem Dafoe into Willem Friend. At that very moment, MCU Peter Parker became Spider-Man. And as someone who's struggled with his optimism in recent times, I feel like this film and this message of optimism and heroism really helped me out. Overall, I really loved this film. It was amazing, it was spectacular, fantastic, bombastic, whatever adjective you want to use. And now that I'm thinking about it, all three of the home MCU films were really just a giant origin story for a real Peter Parker. I'm incredibly excited to see where this version of Spider-Man goes, and I think this is one of my favorite Spider-Man movies ever. Anyways, I think that's about it for this review. I absolutely adore this movie. I really want to see it again. If you've seen it, please tell me what you think about it in the comments, and I'll see y'all next time, hopefully. I'm kind of revitalizing the channel now that I have time to do so, and I'm really excited to see where I go with this. So, thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you on the flip side.
What?